Is Congress finally pushing back against a president determined to reshape America's military and foreign policy on his own terms? A new defense bill drafted by House Republicans is making waves, and it's directly challenging some of President Trump's most ambitious and, some might say, controversial plans. This isn't just about budget lines, it's about the very direction of American power projection around the world. Before we continue, if you want to stay on top of everything happening in U.S. politics, hit that subscribe button right now and leave a like. It really helps this channel grow. So, what exactly is in this draft legislation, known as the National Defense Authorization Act, or NDAA? At its core, it aims to maintain crucial limits on how many U.S. troops can be withdrawn from Europe and South Korea. For years, these forward-deployed forces have been a cornerstone of America's security alliances and a deterrent against potential aggressors. President Trump has, at various times, expressed a desire to pull back significant numbers of troops from these regions, citing cost savings and a need to reallocate resources. However, lawmakers, particularly those on the House Armed Services Committee, have voiced serious concerns that such withdrawals could destabilize already fragile regions, embolden adversaries, and undermine decades of diplomatic and military investment. This bill essentially puts a legislative roadblock in front of any drastic, unilateral troop reductions in these critical theaters. But the challenges to Trump's agenda don't stop there. The draft also takes aim at a highly publicized, and to many, frankly baffling, initiative, the idea of a Trump-class battleship. Yes, you heard that right. The Navy is being explicitly barred from constructing the first of these massive vessels until they can definitively prove they possess the necessary technology to make them a reality. This plan, which has drawn significant skepticism from military strategists and defense analysts, appears to be more of a vanity project than a practical military necessity. Critics argue that such a costly endeavor, especially without proven technological readiness, is a misallocation of resources that could be better spent on modernizing existing fleets or developing more adaptable and effective defense systems. The House Republicans, in this instance, are siding with the pragmatists, demanding concrete technological justification before committing taxpayer dollars to what many see as a boondoggle. This legislation represents a significant moment in the ongoing tug-of-war between the executive and legislative branches regarding national security and defense policy. While the president often sets the agenda, Congress holds the purse strings and, crucially, the power to legislate. The fact that a draft from House Republicans, a party generally aligned with the president, contains such direct limitations on his authority is particularly noteworthy. It suggests that even within the GOP, there are limits to how far certain policies can go without broad consensus or a clear strategic rationale. This isn't just about defying Trump, it's about asserting congressional oversight and ensuring that defense decisions are based on sound military advice and strategic necessity, not on the whims of a single administration. Who does this affect? It directly impacts the president's ability to implement his vision for the military without significant congressional buy-in. It also reassures allies in Europe and Asia that the United States remains committed to its security partnerships, a message that has been increasingly important given past rhetoric suggesting a potential pivot away from traditional alliances. For the Navy, it means a more cautious and evidence-based approach to major shipbuilding projects, which, while potentially slowing down ambitious plans, could ultimately lead to more effective and fiscally responsible investments. What are the possible outcomes? This NDAA draft will now head to the full House for debate and a vote. It's highly likely to face amendments and further negotiation. The Senate will then craft its own version of the bill, and a conference committee will be formed to reconcile the differences between the House and Senate versions. If a final bill passes both chambers and is signed by the president, it will become law, enacting these limitations. However, if the president chooses to veto the bill, Congress would then need to gather enough votes to override that veto, a challenging but not impossible feat, especially if there's strong bipartisan support for the provisions. This process will be closely watched as an indicator of the balance of power between the White House and Capitol Hill on defense matters. So what do you think about this? Is Congress right to put these kinds of limits on presidential defense initiatives, or does this undermine the commander-in-chief's ability to act decisively? Drop your opinion in the comments below. I read every single one. This legislative pushback signals a critical juncture in how America defines and executes its role in the world. The days of unfettered presidential discretion on matters of national defense may be facing a significant reckoning.